Hey everyone, welcome to the last in this series on Rich Dad, Poor Dad. First, really quick, I have a new Twitter account. Couldn't stay away. I love Twitter. Mastodon's great, but it doesn't have as many people as Twitter on it. So now I'm at another Taoist. Find the link in the description. Anyway, you've heard most of what I wanted to say about rich dads and poor dads, but I wanted to raise a few more points in this final video and leave you with ideas of what you can do instead of trying to get rich. How you can stop being a crab in the bucket by kicking it away instead of by stepping on everyone else. There's one point about financial freedom. He keeps bringing up the words financial freedom, and it's common in circles of how to get rich. The dude bros who are all trying to get rich. They tend to talk about financial freedom, and in a way, it's actually a pretty accurate term. But let's think what it means. You're not free unless you have money. Well, I mean, it's true, isn't it? What can you do without money when everything has been commodified? Everything, you have to either pay for it or go without. Why don't we ever talk about that? Why don't we ever question this whole system and start asking, why is it we're not allowed to be free just because we don't have money? You're not allowed to do anything. You're not allowed to eat if you don't have any money, unless by some miracle you can grow all of your own food and, I don't know, grow all of your own clothes too. I don't know how you would do that. So financial freedom is one of those terms that, while accurate, it hides a whole oppressive system behind it. What I want is freedom for everybody, whether or not they have money. Chapter 5, which I didn't really go into, is called The Rich Invent Money. But the chapter doesn't really explain what that means. And I think that's because it doesn't mean anything. You could take it to mean the rich invented money, which would be true if you went into the real history of how money was invented by kings and forced on everyone. You could take it to mean the rich just get money without doing anything, also called passive income, which is a euphemism for other people doing all the work and the owner taking the profit. But Robert doesn't claim either of those things in this chapter, so I guess it's up to our interpretation. Everyone has a different interpretation of this book. Just ask people who've read it what the main messages are. A lot of them will say things that weren't even mentioned in this book. I want to look at a few choice quotes from the book. We've got this one that says, I would venture to say personal self-discipline is the number one delineating factor between the rich, the poor, and the middle class. Actually, Robert, I think you'll find it's money and access to money and things like a whole network of people who, help you make more money or help you protect your money. That's actually the number one delineating factor. And on the one hand, studies have kind of shown that this is basically true, like to the extent a few studies can prove anything. They have found that that poorer people tend to be quicker to eat the marshmallow or whatever the test is. They just tend to be quicker at it. But I mean, you say that as if it's a causal factor, when really it's a result of not having money. It's nothing to do with the cause. People are not poor because they lack self-discipline. That simply doesn't make any sense. I mean, most poor people are working all the time, and they have so little money that they have to be extremely disciplined with how they spend it, how they budget it. They can't just go out for dinner whenever they want. They have to ration their money. So I would venture to say that the rich lack self-discipline compared to the poor for the most part. There's this very suspect line: "It takes only a few dollars to start and grow it into something big." Um, Only a few dollars, hey? What the hell are you gonna do with only a few dollars? Like, if you're talking about like that guy who kept trading on eBay all day until he ended up with a car, then okay, sure. I mean, I think it's really obvious that it's really, really difficult to do anything when you've only got a few dollars. And I kind of wonder, how much hope, how much like false hope he's giving to people, because people with only a few dollars, they go, oh great, I'll take my only a few dollars, I'll put it into the stock market, I'll invest in cryptocurrencies or something, and then the next thing you know, your money's gone. Besides, even a few dollars, you for the most part, you can't do anything with it. How can you even buy a stock with it? Because you need to, pay a broker or something. Even the cheapest online brokers, like, there's still some kind of fee that amounts to more than a few dollars alone. So just, this is just one of those, you and everybody else can get rich. You're just not trying hard enough. You just don't have the self-discipline. Ready to blame the poor a little bit more? It says here, the single most powerful asset we all have is our mind. If it's trained well, it can create enormous wealth seemingly instantaneously. So, so if you're smart, you can just create enormous wealth that just kind of magically comes to you. An untrained mind, if you're not smart, can also create extreme poverty that can crush a family for generations. They're blaming the poor. You see? Do you see that? It's blaming the poor. Well, see, you haven't bothered to learn all the secrets of finance and having a corporation and with tax benefits and stuff like that. So you've created extreme poverty and you're crushing your family for generations. It's so unfair. It's clear that he's never been poor before. However much he wants to talk about his poor dad obviously was actually quite like middle of the road, quite middle class. So what if he died with some bills to pay off? Like, he's pretty middle class, like most people. He's definitely not poor. Again, like I said in the last video, check out the book Nickel and Dimed by Barbara Ehrenreich. There's a link to it in the last video. Um, that will give you some insight into poverty that Kiyosaki simply doesn't have. And it's not because people aren't trying hard enough. It's not because they can't figure out how to get rich and how to get out of the rat race. It's because they can't. They can't. Like where are they going to go where they can save money on rent, or where they're not going to get dinged for rent? So they're going to have to pay rent, and when rents go up, they have to pay more of their income on it. Where can they go where they don't have to pay for food, and they have to pay for the grocery store's prices of food, which keep going up? Are their wages rising commensurately? No, of course they aren't. They might have to work more hours, 16 hours a day instead of the normal 12. It doesn't matter how trained your mind is. Extreme poverty comes from the conditions around you, the people that take your money for everything, that everything has to cost money. And they're always on the brink of total collapse because just one emergency, which will also require money, will send them over the edge. I can't wait to read a book, Rich Kid, Poor Kid, about how kids are going hungry because they just don't think like winners. And one of the worst statements I've seen in this whole book My rich dad would often say, poor people are more greedy than rich people. He would explain that if a person was rich, that person was providing something that other people wanted. Yeah, money. Because he's got all the money. It's not that they want money, it's that they have to use money or they go poor, go hungry, go homeless, and freeze to death in the streets. Providing something. Okay. If a person's rich, all it means, the only one and only thing it means is they have money. It does not mean, I cannot make this clear enough, it does not necessarily mean that they have provided something that somebody wanted. Moreover, really what they're doing is the opposite of providing things that people wanted. They're owning things and saying, you can have it, but you have to pay. I mean, anybody could do that. That doesn't take any skill. There's no skill behind it. There's nothing selfless about it whatsoever. Poor people are more greedy. Jesus. Like, I mean, it's one thing to say that and like think you're saying something, but I mean, first of all, a bunch of studies have shown that poor people tend to give a lot more, which shouldn't be the slightest bit surprising because they have empathy, whereas rich people tend to give the least, actually, in proportion to their salaries, they tend to give hardly anything. And when you have lots of money or lots of power, whatever it is, you tend to feel above everybody else. You're not like them. You're one of the champions who deserve what you have. You deserve all this money, for providing all those services that people wanted, i.e., you have all the money they need and you give them some of it, maybe for like doing work for you or buying, like uh, to invest in something. Like, it's not doing something other people wanted. We don't want money and property, and we don't want to have to pay for goods. It's just that we do. We live in that world. Rich people don't have to force us to pay, or don't have to like conditionally grant us money if we can fill out the application properly or something. Like, they could just give it out. They could just give all their products away. They could, but they won't. And what's the word for that? What did you say the word is when they've got everything and won't give it away because they want to make more money? Yeah, I think you know what the word for that is. Okay, I'm done reading out Kiyosaki's stuff. I'm going to take some of the things that he has said in this book and I'm going to twist them around for my own purposes. He talks about having 4 skills that make up financial intelligence. And I want to look at some of them. The first one you can see at the bottom of the page there is accounting. So you're supposed to know accounting, right? Well, he means accounting for your own business. Do your own accounting, right? Except he also kind of means hire the best accountants. Like, yeah, great. Get all of the skills required to be an accountant for your own money. Should only take you a few years of study. I would say accounting does have its applications outside business, but for the most part, we can ignore it. 2, investing. See, he means investing in things that will get you more money. I think, especially in the age of climate change, and like God knows what kind of social horrors are going to arise from it. I mean, there's a rampant fascist movement in the United States and a growing one in just about everywhere else. So I would say investing is investing in your future. Nothing to do with money, but investing in things like uh, community permaculture, community gardens, that kind of thing. Strengthen your community. Strengthen the ability of people around you to protect themselves, to survive, and to resist everything that's going on. These things are going to be more and more important. That's what's, I think, it's just me, but I think in 20 years, that's going to be the only kind of investing anybody will be talking about. Investing in doing the things that you need to do to survive. So start today. Strengthen your community. Uh, Find or create a new community with people who understand that that's what you're going to need to do. That would be investing nowadays. Understanding markets, yeah, sure, you should learn the history of markets, where markets came from, how they work, why we're using money. There's lots of books on that. You could read Debt, The First 5,000 Years by David Graeber, or anything by David Graeber, probably. You could read The Invention of Capitalism by Michael Perelman. That'll give you a good idea of where markets came from. It's an actual history rather than just some nonsense you read in your economics class. Yeah, you should understand those things so that you can destroy them. Number 4 is the law. Yeah, again, you should probably know the law, sure. If you're going to go out there and resist, or even if you don't want to resist, at some point you're going to brush up against the law. The better you can protect yourself with the as much as I think the law is not a valid set of rules for us. It doesn't really matter because the police are still going to try to enforce it. The police, the courts, and so on and so forth. So yeah, if you know the better you know the law, the more likely you are to keep yourself and others out of prison. So yeah, those are basically good things to learn. Invest in your community, understand markets and money and where they came from and how mutual aid can make them all irrelevant, and understand the law so you can keep out of prison for as long as possible. And so we close Rich Dad, Poor Dad, never to be reopened. Wealth should be shared, not hoarded. Corporations, laws, markets, and money shouldn't exist. Invest in your future by strengthening your community and educating and defending the people around you, not by accumulating wealth and hoping to isolate yourself from the coming storm. When you get old, money might not even be worth anything. Stop chasing that dollar and start building a future without money. Thanks.